This is one of my great mates, Matt Bradley, who has stopped by for a chat. He runs a great company called Coengineer that he's going to tell us all about. Stay tuned. We've got some great stuff to unpack, and we'll see you soon. We are curating the people that talk about leadership. They talk about strategy. They talk about scorekeeping, marketing. They talk about rules. They talk about management. They're telling us about their life. They're telling us about their careers. They talk about innovation, creativity. They're here to help you. It's talking business. This is Best Practice TV. Can you tell our amazing audience who you are, what you're passionate about, and obviously I want them to know about your business because that's part of the exchange here. And then I'm going to interject with some questions as we go. So,
Fine.
Tell me about this amazing journey that brings us to today.
I started out as a mechanical engineer originally. Yep. Really not totally sure on what I wanted to be. I think, which is probably most of us. We're sort of, at the time it was like civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, where do I want to go? I sort of fell into mechanical engineering, and then worked for a couple of different companies during that period, like Caltex, CSR, those sort of big sort of corporates. During that period, I had an interesting sort of turn in my career after about 5 years, in that started to get frustrated when, designing machines, building them, trying to improve them, and then working with electrical engineers to write the code for those machines, the control systems, and producing pretty poor results. To put it kindly, and then I suppose that sort of drove me to start to read the manuals, understand how to write the code for these machines, and I found that I suppose because of my mechanical background and understanding of the machines, I was able to actually deliver a better result. And that's how I sort of fell into the whole control systems and industrial automated control systems, SCADA, PLC world, which basically runs all of our factories, our processes, the mines, the water plants, the various food and beverage factories around the world. And since then, I've just loved really doing that sort of stuff and really diving into the difficult machines and making them work and optimizing them and making them sing. And I suppose that's sort of, and then through that period, probably in the early 2000s. Ended up sort of diving out of the corporate world, partly out of frustration with, the limitations of large corporates. And
I hear you.
And
we've all been there.
and we've all had certain frustrations there, just in terms of the cultures of businesses, and not to say that they're bad, but you sort of like one of the negatives of a lot of large corporations is you tend to be a number. So I sort of dove in and started doing the one-man band contracting sort of gig, running around and just diving into different projects, and sort of found myself sort of working on more save-it sort of jobs. The job's already going bad. Matt, can you come and fix it? Did that for a couple of years and started to get frustrated with that, because then it was like, well, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? And then started the process of building a proper organisation. Took on some business partners and, as you have done, gone through the whole learning process of many of us professionals in our engineering or accounting or whatever your profession happens to be. We have this naive belief that that we know how to run a business.
That's right.
Because hey, I'm a great engineer or I'm a great accountant or whatever it is, so I can also easily run a business. But as you and I both know, that is not the case. Definitely. And that was a great journey. And we'll talk more about it, I suppose, further on. But went through and built up one business, very successfully. But then, as businesses grow, I sort of ran into some problems with partners, and so when you go through that's also. I mean, we tend to think that business is this cold, calculating thing. It is not. It's very emotional. There's a lot of, because my first business was my baby. It's my baby, don't want to give it up, and then you sort of go through that process of, potentially crashing it, blowing it up, and the divorce, and going through all that sort of heartache. you know, and so sort of went through that business, and we were very successful. You know, we built up to 50 people. You know, and working on some of the best projects around Australia, very critical infrastructure and large projects. You know, exited out of that business, started another business on the rebound, and we can talk more about that. And made another bunch of mistakes going through that process. And then finally, you know, again listening to my own advice, you know, surrounded myself with more great people, which helped really straighten me out in terms of how to approach business properly, how to have how to select the right sort of partners at a business level. You know, and now we're sort of rebuilding that, but also using a lot of the learnings over the last 10, 15 years. And yeah, now we're, you know, obviously we're still in the earlier phases, but it's exciting again. We're growing, we're re-establishing great long-term relationships again, building a great team of people. And really, I mean, because our focus now, which we've, I suppose, really realised and crystallised within our business, is it's all about the service that we deliver and delivering great service for clients, helping them along their journey. It's all about them and saying, well, okay, where are you today? Where do you want to be in 12 months, 2 years, 3 years' time? How do we get you the best return on investment on the money you spend on us?
That's right. That's exactly right. You hear that, everybody? It's about, you know, it's not about, well, in this instance, if we talked about sales, it's not about that. It's about going in and saying, you're going to invest some fees in our firm, your firm, my firm, your firm, the business you work for. How are you going to deliver a return on investment? Because that's your responsibility. Sales, it's not sales, it's about your customers, the customer's going to pay you money. It's your responsibility, it's your obligation to when you collect those fees from your customer for the product or the service, it's about delivering the return on investment.
So I suppose just to expand on that and to clarify a bit more for everybody is that at Coengineer, we fundamentally focus on the industrial automation and control systems. So that's your PLCs, your SCADA, HMI, you know, your plant control system, your networks, your cybersecurity, you know, all the way down through to your safety systems. But we don't focus on that as such. We don't sit there and try to sell you a PLC or a SCADA system. It's like, well, hang on. What are you trying to achieve with this system? You know, for your business. You know, so therefore, you know, at a safety level, so if we're putting in a machine safety or a process functional safety system, it's not about just chucking something in there. It's like, what problem are you actually trying to solve at a business level? And then rolling that down through the project. And then so when you get to the end of the project, you can tick off at a business level that tick, 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 we've done all those things.
That's right. You
know, so it's yes, although we do industrial controls and PLCs and things, that's sort of more just a vehicle for helping the business get better.
Absolutely. So for you guys out there, you know, and I'm just going to put it into my language, is, you know, and I've seen the great work of this business. If you've got a plant, if you've got a factory, if you've got any sort of equipment in your business that's got a software system that's running it, it's about optimizing that, and then if there's a number of bits of equipment, optimizing the whole lot so they all work together seamlessly. Now the great thing about how does that apply to best practice, and you know, and what's the relationship here, is that that's an engineered quality system. So those systems, while machines might make errors, the machine will make the same error over and over and over again because it's not set up properly. So what we're looking for, so the whole intent of, say, something like ISO 9001 is to eliminate human errors. And so if you've got, you know, it's not about reducing labour, it's about eliminating human errors. And so if you can start to look at Coengineer as a great business, we'll put the links to their website in the comments below this video, or the description below the video. But it's looking at the opportunity to take your business to the next level. For example, that equipment can run unsupervised, and it can run late into the night because it doesn't need to stop for dinner.
That's right.
You know, and so that for those plants that, you know, maybe the plant's running from 9 to 5, but then you know, permits and requirements and all that sort of stuff being met, that all of a sudden the plant goes to 24/7. And so then your delivery time to your customer. So the problem might be, we want to get more products to our customer in half the amount of time. And so then you're looking at those sorts of systems. And so, around customer satisfaction, I'm concerned about customer satisfaction. I want your businesses, our audience's businesses to deliver amazing service to their customers. This is an opportunity, if you've got a factory, a plant, all those sorts of things, is to look at Coengineer and go, okay, well, what are the opportunities where we can get those guys in to help improve our customers' experience?
Exactly. I mean, and that's where we've designed a framework that looks at the total array of control system related aspects, because you're starting at cybersecurity down through the networks, that's your communication networks of the plants, down through your SCADA systems, your HMI, your PLC, all the way down to your instruments. But then also looking at the process, because like you said, at the end of the day, when something goes outside of those plants, how can they guarantee that it's the best quality, the right quality, so you don't get the customer rejecting the product back to you,
exactly right.
and it costs you a lot of money. So, and it's very much intertwined with ISO 9001 processes.
That's why we're talking.
Yes, that's right. I mean, just that continuous improvement process, that's what we help a lot of our clients with, is setting up a framework where every year we're planning and forecasting of how, what are the key objectives we want to get done this year to improve the reliability, the speed, the quality of your processes in all those aspects. Because I was watching one of your webinars around safety, work health and safety. In many factories, when it comes to machine safety, functional safety, many of them have got a lot of holes. A lot of holes.
Absolutely right.
Which really need someone outside to come in and assist the people there who are usually overworked and under-resourced to really get on top of those key areas, because there's nothing worse than your factory or your organisation losing an employee through an injury or an incident or something like that. I mean, even if you just put the financial impact aside, just the emotional impact that ripples through your organisation is monstrous.
So you've been a boss, right? You've been a CEO. You're starting again. You're surrounding yourself with great people. And they're going to want, they like you were, so I'll ask you the good question in a second, but they like you were, they think they know everything, but some of them want to do the right thing. What advice have you got for someone who wants to help, like they're a good person, so you've recruited them, they're working for you, they're a good person. What advice have you got for them in how they can bring you a proposal? So if you think about, like, you're starting to build your team and you're delegating, and delegating and elevating, you're starting to build your dashboard of all of your business metrics. So it might be customer satisfaction, might be OH&S. So you're sort of zooming out of being an engineer for the minute, and you're zooming into being a manager. What I'm interested to know, because this sort of relates to management systems, how does someone bring you a proposal for something that they want to do in the business? So there's an area of the business that they want to improve, or work, or something on a project, they want to try something different. How do they bring that to you? What does that look like for you?
Wow, that's always a tough one. From my perspective, what I'm obviously a couple of areas that I'm interested to see. One is that they've thought it out, like there's a fair bit of thinking, documentation in terms of, what are the pros and cons? How does it impact the business? How would the business benefit from that particular proposal? What sort of resources are required for it? So that's sort of the documentation side. Which is important. But really, what I'm more interested in is their level of energy and their attitude. Because any idea or thing that you want to implement takes a lot of passion, takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of commitment. Because in any organisation, when you try to make change or add something, there's always the change management, the people management aspect of it, and getting other people to buy into it and come on board. And as you know, because you've gone through the process of starting businesses, which is the difficult end. But anytime you develop any new sort of level of business internally or externally, it takes 10 times more effort than what you originally think it's going to take. So is that person really prepared,
committed,
and committed to really punch out those extra hours to make it happen? So is this someone that I can sit there and who's really excited, passionate, who I know that when the initial excitement dies off and they sort of get into the the curve and they hit that first wall of investment, do I feel confident that that person can get through that first wall of investment when they're plugging away and and putting more and more time and effort, and they don't seem to be getting anywhere? Because as what we tend to see is that people come with a great idea, they get into that first wall of investment, out of the excitement phase, and they're building it, and they're getting so close to that tipping point, and then they quit. And then all that effort basically got flushed. So, I suppose for me, that's sort of what I'm looking for as probably a higher priority. And because even if someone doesn't necessarily have all of the documentation and notes, I can mentor that. You can, right?
Absolutely.
Right? You can sit there and say, love the idea, sounds great, go away, do X, Y, Z.
That's right.
Right? Exactly. The real test then is, do they come back with X, Y, and Z and A, B, C on top of that?
Absolutely.
Because many times you say, great idea, I love it, please go and do it. And then a month or two later you go, mate,
how'd you go with that?
How'd you go with that thing? Oh, yeah, I'm sort of...
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not going anywhere.
No. And that's the piece of advice. There's a gold nugget in there for you guys out there when you're bringing a proposal forward to a senior manager. Be prepared. So you're going to go think about it. So the first thing that Matt said was like really think it through. You got to really think it through. You got to think about what the benefit is to the business, not just yourself. Because if it's like if I did this, it's going to make my job easier. We're not interested. Like it's because it's an investment to say, well, this is what you're doing to contribute to the business. We pay you to do the grind on that particular task. Like Jack loves editing these videos, but I watch him some days and I think like he's got to sit there 3 or 4 hours listening to my voice, and he's already seen it because we shot it. Then he's looked at the rough cut. Then he's looking at the second cut. Then he's looking at the final cut. So he's listened to it 4 times. You really got to be passionate about that. So what Matt's saying is think that through. Then be prepared to be told to go away and work it out more and come back. So you're not just going to pitch it once, you're going to pitch it twice.
Yes.
And it's no different to when I'm doing a sales pitch. I've got to often pitch once, twice or 3 times. And so be prepared to think about, you got to think about it first, think it right through. Think it through as far as you can. Then you got to say, here's my great idea. And I know you're going to send me away to think about it some more. So what do I need to think about some more? When am I pitching it a second time? And then prove that you've got the energy to push it all the way through. Now, I don't want to stop you guys. I don't want to stifle people's excitement for presenting ideas, but just understand that we don't, as senior managers, go, no, that's a bad idea. And if you're finding that in the business you work for,
because I mean, it's we've both read a number of books about how there's a million ideas out there, and everybody comes up with 1,000 great ideas.
You can buy ideas.
Yeah, that's right. You can buy ideas. And everybody has an idea. Where they all fail is that willingness to drive that idea and get up every day and keep working on it day after day after day until you get the success you want. There's many times I've supported people in my own businesses and say, that's a great idea, yes, go develop it. And then 3-6 months later, it's gone nowhere. And I say, well,
So Jack, if you can put the TED Talk link for the Tai Lopez TED Talk in the description. Have you heard of Tai Lopez? Amazing. Look at Tai Lopez. Well, not everything's amazing. His YouTube channel's full of garbage, but he's got some great stuff. He did a great TED Talk. I think he was in Stockholm, and he's just talking about like people's commitment and passion. Like not everyone's willing to be to put in the effort. Not everyone's willing to do the reading. Not everyone's willing. They want the good life, but not everyone's willing to to be tenacious. So that's awesome, mate. That's fantastic. Great gold nugget. Now, this is the question that I've been looking forward to. This is the great question. And he knows what it is. I want to know, what's the piece of advice that you're going to give or you would give to your 30-year-old self?
Yeah, it took me a while to sort of just chew this over in my mind. And because quite a lot of the time we tend to get stuck on the content. thinking about, you want to be like this, or you want to, I don't know, any particular sort of content related issue. But then the more and more I thought about it, the more I realised that it's more about education. It's one of the biggest mistakes I think that we make is that we believe that I'll just educate myself through experience. Okay. Well, we know that experience is the most expensive way to learn anything, by far. Okay. So whereas to go and read audiobooks, podcasts, webinars, courses, mentors, if I was to talk to my 30-year-old self again, I would be telling him that every day you get up and for the first 30 minutes of every day to an hour, you'll read something, learn something, talk to someone, or go meet a mentor, or do something to further expand your knowledge, because as you know, how effective we are in the world is all determined by our mental models, our paradigms, our belief systems, our knowledge, which then rolls down into our habits, right? Because our habits are a primary driver of how effective we are in life. And really it's about, if you set that framework up as an individual, you can conquer anything.
Absolutely. Any challenge.
Any challenge. You can conquer it. It's because then every time you run into a challenge, it's like, great, no dramas. Okay, so I need to, one of the biggest challenges I needed to overcome was that being an engineer and an engineer in a business, I historically avoided sales. Right? It was alien to me. It was not an area that I have to go talk to people. Really? I don't want to talk to anyone. So basically then I had to approach that and realize that, hang on, sales is one of the core fundamentals of my business, and if that's not working well and I don't know how to drive that, I'm going to fail. Right, okay, how am I going to learn sales? Went online, went and did online courses, read books, got mentors, and more importantly, and this is where a lot of people, this is one of the fundamental other tip, is put into action as much of you learn as possible, because unfortunately us humans have a very bad habit of implementing probably less than 10% of what we actually learn, and within 3 months down the track it's probably less than 1%. You've forgotten probably most of it. So one of the things that one of the best habits that I have is that, like, when I listen to audiobooks or read books or go to courses or things like that, I sit there and I listen for the gold nuggets, and I write the gold nuggets and go, right, okay, so what I need to do, for example, is get up in the morning and I write my goals down every morning, as an example. Or I get up and I do my 30 minutes of meditation every morning. You didn't do it this morning, did you?
Didn't.
Yeah, naughty boy, right? So
I was so tired. Going on holidays tomorrow.
Harden up, all right? But look, I suppose, looking back at 30 years ago is so, so therefore, action, yes, is important. Got to get into action, make it happen and do things. But arm yourself as much as possible along the way with as much knowledge and expert advice. Because one of the traps that we tend to fall into is that we sit there, we plan, we educate, we plan, but we never make a phone call. We never get into action. Well, all that knowledge is useless unless you're actually putting into action. So really the two go hand in hand, because it really leads back to so many of us. There was an interesting book that I've read called Peak, which talked about deliberate practice. We just briefly talked about that, right? And one of the things that really smacked me in the face when I read this book is the incorrect belief of experience. So we sit there and go, oh, he's a doctor, he's had 20 years experience as a surgeon, I put all my trust in him because he has 20 years of experience. But what they studied and what they recognized was that the more experienced they became, the less effective they became and the more mistakes they would make compared to a surgeon that was only 3 or 4 years out of his time. Right?
I get it. It's what's their intent, right? Is like, have they got 20 years experience with the intent to improve,
Exactly.
That self-evaluation.
Yeah, that's right. So and like I know in my own industry, you know, we have a tendency, like I think any industry, to suffer from, oh, hey, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know, how much proactive training have you had to improve the way you do things, to improve the way you write specifications or do designs or write code or whatever it happens to be? Are you up to date with the latest technology? Have you done latest training? You know, and then on a business level, like for us, it's sort of like, who are my mentors? Who are my one-on-one mentors, and who are the mentors that I lean on the web, for example, you know, on the internet, you know. It's an interesting thing. There was, in some of the training that I've done over the last couple of years, especially around sales, you know, I remember one of the mentors that I sort of follow a fair bit, he sort of, you know, one of the things he was talking about was stop getting, you know, get off your soapbox, stop complaining about the people, you know, the CEOs who earn 10 million, 20 million, $100 million a year or whatever they happen to be fortunately earning. He said, there's a big difference between those guys and the rest of us. He said some of those guys, they pay out of their own pocket to do X amount of courses every year. They read 60 books per year. They're constantly, you know, they don't go home at night and sit in front of the TV. They don't on the weekends go hang out at the football and stuff. You know,
they're not nasty people.
Yeah, they're not nasty people. Basically, they're smashing themselves and going, right, okay, so I'm a leader of this level today. What is my next level that I need to go to? What new skills do I need, you know, next week, next month? How can I expand how I'm doing things better, faster, quicker, smarter? You know, and it's by taking that attitude and constantly, you know, educating yourself, shifting your mental models, how you perceive the world, what your belief systems are, changing your habits. You know, so instead of, you know, like I get up in the morning, 5 o'clock, go for a run in the dark, come back, meditate. You know, that's hard. You know, some mornings you don't want to get out of bed. You know, you're like, it's raining, honey. Get the hell out of bed. Dang.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
You know, but it's those habits over a long period of time that just, you know, they just magnify and they launch you forward and make you more powerful. And the sooner you get those in place, the quicker you'll reap the benefits of that further on down the track.
From your observations, what, you know, and you're you know, you're from a client's perspective, you know everything that we do. You've bought the services in the past. What could we do? You know, what's your business advice for us in terms of what we could do?
That's a tough one because I mean, you know, and not to blow any smoke up your bum. Right, but I watch, because you know we've known each other for quite a few years now, and I've watched you go through certain difficult phases. And where you are today, and you know, I think on a lot of levels you're really nailing it. In terms of the way you're reaching out to clients, like on a sales and marketing level, and really focusing on the clients as the service. I think, you know, you've really sort of turned the corner on that front. You know, the way you're moving your business forward. I'm just trying to think what sort of, I mean.
So, okay, let me reframe it. As a customer of an ISO service, if you like, what's on your wish list? Be selfish. In your business, buying our service, what's on your wish list?
One of the key challenges that I think we run into as a business is, for example, like when we're tendering for projects for clients, you know, and you have certain clients and they'll say, oh, are you ISO 9001 certified and right? And I remember I've had a few discussions even recently with some clients about their procurement process and how they evaluate the actual effectiveness and implementation of that particular company's ISO 9001
system,
right? Because one of the things that, and we've talked about this, where many companies tend to see the stamp of approval as, I've got the tick, I can now put that on the shelf.
Do something else,
I can now just get back to what I really want to do and focus on and just try to make money and do other things, as opposed to the more sort of, I suppose, proactive businesses that look at the tick of approval or the stamp as really, I suppose, a validation of them being a best practice sort of organisation and following, good processes and continually improving, which, if they are doing it well, will give the client a much better result.
Yeah.
So the question that I've failed to really answer, or even in conversing with clients, is that how can us as a supplier and them as a vendor better validate a business like us? Because generally they say, can you give me a sample or example of your ISO manual and other things like that? Great. No, it's just a bit of paper, right? Really, okay? And you can fake that.
Oh, totally. Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll show you how to fake it if you want to fake it.
That's right. You can fake that, okay?
Yeah.
And then as a vendor, you sit there and you go, I said 9,000, tick, excellent, no dramas. But you and I both know that there is a vast difference between a business that has just the tick versus a business who lives and breathes it, and the value. And that, because at the end of the day, the way I look at it is the client is looking at that as a way to, I suppose, validate a supplier in terms of the risk and the reliability of that business being able to supply the service, right, or the project, okay?
Yeah.
But what I fail to see is they don't know how to truly evaluate the effectiveness of that system in that business and the capacity of that business to really deliver what they say they will.
Yeah.
So I suppose as a business, what I'm trying to look for is, how can I present to a potential client that, hey, yeah, I've got the tick like everybody else, but this is how my tick is so much better than someone else's tick.
What is a challenge that you've got in your business? And I'll try and answer it, and then we'll get the audience to do the same thing. Yep. A challenge in your business that can be anything. Challenge in your business that you want to solve, you want help with, you want advice. You've got all of these amazing people that watch these videos. So guys, comment below this video with an answer to this question. What do you want help with?
Because one of our core passion really is around helping manufacturers and process plants really excel. That's what we're about, is really plugging into those organizations and bringing our best in terms of our suite of I suppose our framework that we've developed, and really trying to plug that in and assisting clients really launch and move their business forward. Okay, so I suppose the biggest challenge of that is obviously, what is because there's many different ways to plug into organizations. And there's always, I suppose, a certain level of inertia, skill sets, knowledge within those businesses. And I suppose for us, the biggest challenge we have is really communicating that value and helping clients understand the value that we bring, and helping them along that journey. So I suppose the question is what advice can you offer a business like us who is really, we're good at what we do in terms of helping clients and reviewing their systems and really sort of analysing and bringing them along the journey. But in terms of building that relationship, understanding the client's mindsets, and really how to get under their business hood. Because
like a feasibility study, something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, it's sort of like what we do in our process. For example, is we look at the operation. We look at, as I mentioned before, from the cybersecurity networks all the way down to the other end, and say, well, we start usually with reviews and audits of where they're at. I try to identify what the key holes are or the key risks, the red flags if there are any. And then we work through that process of, okay, so then we try to develop a forward-looking plan So, you know, when we're supporting, like, you know, doing an operational support versus a project, you know, we start looking at, well, where do you want to be in 12 months? Where does your operation want to be in 12 months? Where does the project want to be in 12 months? What are the business drivers of that? More and more of our clients are starting to really, oh, that's great. Yes, we want someone like you to help drive that for us and help plug into that. So it's really about sort of how to engage with business on delivering those sort of services effectively.
I think I can definitely speak from experience. So guys, this is about how Coengineer. The question is, how can Coengineer, from your perspective, I guess provide confidence to allow customers to come forward and ask the question, and that's what I'm hearing. So, look, I think that I can speak from experience. They know that you exist. They might reach out to you, or it's a referral, but they put a wall up straight away.
There's always a certain amount, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's one of the challenges that we have had as well in terms of this process, because they're automatically, I just don't want to talk to you. I don't even want to open the conversation because you're going to be pounding me because you're a salesperson. You're just going to be constantly calling me and like follow up. I've given you a proposal, follow up. So I think my piece of advice is around giving them the opportunity to anonymously look.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. So people are anonymously looking at us, and we're just like, all I'm doing is getting on with business, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing what we do. But we're also giving people the opportunity to see how we operate, see who we talk to, see who's in our network, and they can do that all anonymously on YouTube. Yeah. Now, you publish your LinkedIn articles, and I think they're amazing. So we'll put Matt's handle, his LinkedIn handle, in the description. So send Matt a connection request, and you can send him a direct message on LinkedIn if you've got any questions, and he'll answer them. The same as for me. You know, I do that for people, so they can anonymously send me, you know, obviously LinkedIn tells me who they are, but it's a really great way to interact at that sort of, it's not a formal email because it's a LinkedIn message. So people can send me a LinkedIn message. I don't chase them, don't follow them up. You know, I'm just happy to answer the question. Like, if they want our help, they'll, you know, I'm just waiting for you guys to ask. And so I think there's, and it's a number of steps. The first is identify what the average job description is of that, you know, that 30-year-old, you know, the 28 to 37-year-old engineer that's really struggling. What's their job title? Find them on LinkedIn. Connect with them on LinkedIn at your targets, and then start to say, listen, I don't charge for my time. So Matt Bradley doesn't, you know, I'm not going to tell you that, but Matt Bradley doesn't charge for his time, but my team do. So you can access me for free anytime. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to help you, because the last thing you want is a human being anywhere in the world to be suffering. So that's your charity. You say, look, I'm going to help you. And Matt, I know Matt does this. I'm not telling you guys anything. So that's how I operate. And I say, okay, so I'm going to bring you a huge amount of value. We're going to look at your problems, and the simple ones I'm going to solve. The more complicated ones, I'll come in, if you don't mind letting me come on site, and I'll go through them with you. And then I can help you to frame up a business case and a budget that you can put to your people. And if I feel it's a significant problem and I feel I can solve it, and I can show you how much of a saving I could make or more money I can make for the business, we'll do that together, and I'll partner with you to present that. So over to you guys. That's the question for Coengineer, is how can they come to you to let you guys know that they're there to help solve problems. Matt wants to know that, so I would really appreciate you guys helping us. So please comment below. Connect with Matt on LinkedIn. So send him a connection request. His LinkedIn handle is in the description below this video. So look, I think that brings us to an end. I've loved this. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's great to catch up.
It's good fun, isn't it? So we're going to keep catching up. You guys can keep watching videos. This has been Matt Bradley, Coengineer. Look them up. Check out their website. All the links in the description. Jack's had about enough of my voice for the day, so we're going to wrap up talking business, and we'll see you next time on Best Practice TV. Bye for now. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Thanks, mate.
How good is that?